Hey guys, thank you for tuning into this episode of Jack's Business Talk. And if you're wondering why me and my special guest, Trade Better 99, are wearing the same clothes, it's because we're shooting this back to back.
Love it.
It's not that we didn't bathe for a week. There's only 5 minutes difference between the two recordings. They're just getting posted on 2 different weeks. So for those of, for those of you that don't know, Trade Better have posted his video because the other one's going up on New Year's Eve and this one's following. So go check out his video. You want to
It
go
will
ahead and
be
plug
up.
your channels?
Sure. Yeah. Hit me up on YouTube at TradeBetter99 and Instagram TradeBetter99.
Okay, so with nothing else to do, we're going to talk about today's topic. We're going to talk about how Pittsburgh was on the verge of collapse at the end of the steel mill or the steel industry boom and what exactly happened. So with nothing else to do, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're going to have an awesome good time. And don't worry, if the screen goes black, that's completely normal. I didn't put pictures in this. So we're just going to sit back, we're going to listen, and have a good video.
Pittsburgh's rise as a steel powerhouse began with its rich natural resources.
Are you able to hear that?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Pittsburgh's rise as a steel powerhouse began with its rich natural resources: coal, iron, and limestone. The convergence of rivers fostered transport, and innovators like Andrew Carnegie drove technological advancements, making Pittsburgh the steel capital of the world. Pittsburgh's story begins with its steel roots, propelling the U.S. economy, but crashing in the late 20th century. The decline led to an exodus, plummeting property values, and economic despair. But the story takes a turn. The city harnessed its strong educational institutions and medical centers, birthing a healthcare and tech renaissance. Neighborhoods were revitalized, real estate boomed, and a new economy was born. The Steelers and Penguins, beloved sports teams, fueled civic pride. Their victories not only lifted spirits but also brought economic benefits, drawing fans, fostering business, and boosting tourism. Pittsburgh's transformation is a blueprint for resilience, showing how a city can reinvent itself through innovation, community, and a dash of sports spirit. So, with the steel industry's decline, Pittsburgh faced economic hardship, but it used this challenge as an opportunity to reinvent itself. The city shifted focus to healthcare, with the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center becoming a key player. Education and technology sectors grew, transforming Pittsburgh into a hub for innovation. Real estate saw a renaissance, with neighborhoods like Lawrenceville and East Liberty being revitalized. The success of the Steelers and Penguins played a part too, uniting the community and boosting local morale. Through strategic reinvention, Pittsburgh emerged as a model for other post-industrial cities. It's a story of resilience, innovation, and the power of community. Pittsburgh was real close to collapse. For reference, look at Youngstown, Ohio, almost identical to Pittsburgh's setup with its economy. Pittsburgh narrowly avoided Youngstown's fate by diversifying early. Strong leadership, investment in education and healthcare, and a vibrant innovation ecosystem helped Pittsburgh reinvent itself, whereas Youngstown struggled with economic diversification after the steel collapse. Youngstown, Ohio, was another major steel hub, much like Pittsburgh. Its economy was heavily reliant on the steel industry, and when the steel mills closed in the 1970s, the city faced economic hardship and population decline. Struggling to recover for decades, Youngstown, Ohio, was once a thriving steel town. Much like Pittsburgh, Youngstown has made efforts to diversify its economy, focusing on areas like education, healthcare, and manufacturing tech. While it hasn't fully regained its former industrial might, these changes have brought some revitalization and hope for a more stable future.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear a word so many times that you're just like, okay, I'm sick and tired of hearing this? That's how that
Which one
video.
was that?
Uh, Pittsburgh in the beginning and Youngstown towards the end.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say that. It's like, yeah, it was like be like Pittsburgh, not Youngstown. Youngstown's terrible. Pittsburgh's great. It's like, yeah, yeah. It's funny because I actually looked at Youngstown a long time ago because back in the day, you could buy. I mean, even now, you could buy a place for $40,000. I mean, doesn't mean you want it, but I mean,
It's just that
it's not that far away.
there's not a whole lot of jobs really in that area so much. Like you have
Right,
the Cleveland Clinic, you have like a couple community colleges in Youngstown, and I'm sure that there's a lot of blue collar jobs out there, but it's just there's not a whole lot of big demand in Youngstown. Whereas the
right,
people in Pittsburgh saw kind of the writing on the walls and may have switched a little bit earlier. But when I was looking up the information in Youngstown, Ohio, the biggest medical supplier is the Cleveland Clinic,
right. Yeah,
which has
and
connections to Pittsburgh.
that's pretty true. Right. Really?
Yeah, Cleveland Clinic has connections to Pittsburgh through Allegheny Health Network, through
Oh,
I forget which merger it was.
yeah.
There was a couple mergers.
Oh,
I
wow.
should I should know this, but I honestly forget. They're not together, but they work in partnership with each other, type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, my market, Akron, yeah, they have a Cleveland Clinic at local hospital as well. But the way that they diversified is that, well, they were the rubber capital. So they
Hmm.
had Goodyear, Firestone, Bridgestone, and everything. So yeah, Youngstown, just a little bit further east was, yeah, that was their steel partner.
They just didn't pivot fast enough.
No,
And it's like one of those things, and I forget where I heard this. It was one of the videos. I don't know if it was Simon or if it was Zuber, but the first they're talking about the real estate crash and stuff. They said the first bank they're talking about banks. It had to be Zuber. It had to be Zuber.
right.
They're talking
Yeah.
about
I think it was super.
the first bank to take decide to take the haircut is the one that loses the least amount,
Right.
and that applies to these cities because you figure you have Erie, uh,
Yep.
the, Pittsburgh, Youngstown, Cleveland, basically everything that follows the Ohio River and all the surrounding cities up all the way into Buffalo, New York, were all kind of all affected by the steel industry. But so it's just Pittsburgh was the first one to be like, no, we're pivoting. We got to pivot and switch now before the writing's on the wall. It's gonna happen, and that's the only thing that saved it. Because even look at
Yeah. That's
like Youngstown's now coming around, but Erie is still devastated. It
right.
who knows if it'll ever really come around. And Cleveland's just now coming around, probably within like the last 20 years. They started making
Right.
advances. And
Yeah. And they
Buffalo,
almost lost. Yeah. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say Buffalo started coming around about the same time frame. What were you saying?
Yeah. yeah, Buffalo. I mean, they had the Tesla plant come in for the batteries, which really helped them out. And then,
Hmm.
yeah, Cleveland, I mean, they almost lost Cleveland Clinic. And that's apparently affects maybe 70% of the entire city for jobs in some way or
Yeah,
form. So I know that's one where it's gotten better. You're right, but it's hanging on by a thread right now.
I think it'll get better in like our lifetime. Like I think we'll see it be these cities be prosper. Some of them. I think
Right,
like Cleveland, Akron are probably gonna be like the first two that really come and turn around. Then then maybe Youngstown. Well, sorry.
mm,
Probably like Cleveland, Buffalo would be like the next one since they're already really starting. Akron will probably be like shortly behind them. And the ones bringing up the tail are going to be like your Youngstown, your Erie. And then
Right.
you just have certain ones like Weirton, West Virginia, and Steubenville, Ohio, they're just, which Erie honestly might be a part of this one where it's just they've been so decimated that they may never come back.
Yeah. Yeah. I looked at Steubenville for a while. That was one of those. It's like, oh yeah, you could buy a house for $20,000. You're not going to get anyone to live in it, but you can get it for
Yeah,
20,000.
that's the same with Ashton Beulah out in Ohio.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Oof.
yeah, I remember looking at that market. I don't even know exactly where it's at. I know I used to pass it going to see some family and stuff in Ohio, but like it's one of those towns that it's just completely so decimated that like I see the signs for it and I don't know if I've actually ever seen the town because it's just everything is just just abandoned warehouses and stuff.
Right. Wow. That's interesting because yeah,
Actually,
I
I just
think
had a
about like
thought.
go ahead.
I just had a thought. So the steel mill collapse was so impactful, like not even just for our area that we invest, but think about it, okay? So the steel mill
Mhm.
city collapsed, okay, because of prices in other countries and all that.
Right.
Because the steel prices getting cheaper and stuff, it was like almost like a stepping ladder of like everything collapsing around it to the point that even like Gary Indiana, Gary, Illinois, where's Millennial Mike at?
Indiana. Yeah,
Yeah,
Gary,
like
Indiana.
even those cities felt the impact.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, any place that had
I mean, that was a
steel and
US
stuff.
steel town. So, oh
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Well, now it's
yeah, it
Japan.
went all the way out the way. Yep. So, with that, do you think with potential tariffs and everything going on in the near future, do you think this would be a chance for these companies or to go back to say Youngstown, Gary, and get the mills going again, or do you think they're just going to go somewhere else?
I think just go somewhere else because you figure a lot of these mills and stuff that have been in the area that have since shut down because you figure some of these mills have been shut down since the 90s. They're going to take so much money to get up and going again, and they're going to be so heavily revamped that you can almost build another mill cheaper than what it would cost to get it going again.
Yeah,
It wouldn't
that's
be
hard to
bad for
believe
like a
90s or
smaller
30
company,
years
but for
ago. Yeah.
I don't know what you would do with it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Speak.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kind of thinking. I don't know what you would do with those abandoned steel mills. I really don't.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was thinking about, like with onshoring, maybe companies coming back for like specific storage if they're looking for maybe like, I don't know. There's going to be a need for drone factories now. And I'm wondering if
Yeah,
they'll get these areas and retrofit them and stuff like that. And especially if TSMC builds their factory in Arizona and then kind of moves things out east, maybe. I don't know. So it's a thought.
I know that a lot of these mills, like the overhead cranes, still work and stuff. And I was at one place. Me and Cynthia went to a Christmas lights display a few years ago. They brought some food trucks in and laid some of that
Mhm.
green astroturf down for people to walk on so they didn't fall and slip. But you walk through all these different rooms of this old steel mill. All the machinery is gone. Okay, but they still had the overhead
Wow.
cranes,
Yeah,
which
okay.
it turns out to be the last thing that they removed. And what I thought was interesting is like, if you had something, so like I don't know what you would do, but like if you had something big, okay, like you stored, you know, I I don't know, semi truck trailers. I don't know. I'm pulling something out of thin air because
Right.
honestly, I was envisioning like steel coils, but like I don't think they store very well. But if you had
Mhm.
something big that you had to pull off trailers and stuff, you have the cranes to do it. Like those things are made to, lift how many tons of weight. I was like, so I can't see those cranes. not being able to not move something.
That's a great idea. I mean, it's so there could be something, maybe simple, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if the cities are going to make plays again, see if they're to get businesses back there. What kind of medical and tech do you see in Pittsburgh right now?
We're kind of seeing more of so with Pittsburgh in the medical field, the tech that they do is a lot of the more state of the art stuff. So they do like a lot of practices and all that kind of stuff, and they make a lot of advancements towards different areas of specialties. So like I'll give you an example. For example, like Allegheny Health Network, they're world renowned for their cardiac,
Oh,
and they some of their programs are now being implemented by the Joint Commission and stuff,
oh wow.
and they're setting the standards as far as a nation. UPMC is highly renowned for like their stem cell research and stuff, and like their stroke centers are top notch. Like they're super hard to beat. As far as tech goes, they kind of focus more on like the automation side of stuff. So like all of like so they're not doing a whole lot with AI as far as I know, but they're doing a whole lot of like the
Mhm.
robotics industry and all that kind of stuff, which kind of gets me wondering, are we at the tail end of the robotics industry? Because if all the plants can only get so far, is this really going to start to be the end of it? But I can't see where AI would take over robotics job because you'd still need a. The best you could do is have AI program the robots for you, but at the same time, it's not that far yet where AI could just be trusted 100%, where you just say, write this programming and then slap it in without testing it.
Right. Yeah, I am. That's my day job. My W-2 is as a programmer, and using Chat GPT or any of the larger ones. It's yeah, it'll give you a code, but you'll spend probably twice the amount of time debugging it rather than just writing your own code yourself.
Yeah.
So it's getting better, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, because
So
I feel like if you had AI write you the code, there's a joke I have at work. There's a case packer. Okay, so it forms the boxes, shoves it in, and you have robots that grab the medical packages and they put them in a certain order, and the big one comes over, goes and picks it up and shoves it in the box and shoves a chipboard on and all that kind of stuff. It does all that for you. For a while there, the coding, just from reading the code over and over and over and over, got glitched up and stuff. And then you end up with funny moments that just happen to be caught on camera. So you have robot one and two, which are small, and then the big one, which is three, that does the whole pickup.
right.
You'll have funny moments like this where robot one picks up the package and goes to hand it off to robot two. Robot two grabs or tries to grab it. Robot one won't let go of it. So robot two, almost like it got mad, pulls back and just slams into it. Then robot one slams on top of another package and goes out of the way. And then robot three just smashes all of them.
That sounds terrible. Oh, yeah. Wow. That sounds like a fun day, though. I'm sure it's like, as long as it's not, well, I mean, I'm sure it's more frustrating than anything, but at the end of the day, you're like, oh, that's pretty funny. So
Not my part of the warehouse. Not my monkeys. Not my show. I got to watch it through the window.
there you go. I like that's a good way to put it. Wow.
That's that side of the glass. I'm on this side of the glass.
Right, right.
I get to watch all
Wow.
of them have a horrible day where I just sit there for 12 hours, do nothing.
Yeah. Just like, all right, well, that's your problem. I'll watch. Get the popcorn.
Those are usually the days, honestly, that we run so slow that when like we have different hoppers and bowls and stuff that we have to fill with different components, medical components and stuff. Those are usually the days where I will just run out of product nonstop because we're running so slow that I forget to like every 3 hours dump a bag of product. Because normally
Right.
it's like every 10 minutes. So I just completely forget about it.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's one of those. It's like when you have a system and then it stops, and then you're like, oh well, I don't care anymore. And then yeah, then everything breaks down. I get that. Yeah. Man, that sounds so. Okay, so medical devices. So that's really cool.
I
So
guess we
you
also
see
have a lot
Pittsburgh
of
growing
that
like that.
too, like the
Yeah.
production as far as medical stuff too.
Yeah. And that's needed. At like, I mean, with everything that we saw happen in North Carolina with the saline shortages, I
Hmm.
mean that was an all hands on deck thing that happened. And I mean, hey, once again, it's a great idea to diversify. And if Pittsburgh, I mean, they have the know how and they have the warehouses, could be a plan. I don't know. Anyone
That
out there listening?
that saline shortage actually affected even my company and stuff.
Wow.
Uh, they have another plant that produces like it's not mass quantity as a saline by any means, but where is it? I keep want to say Puerto Rico, and I don't think that's right.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't matter anyway.
That's fine.
But they they have all the extrusion machines and all that kind of stuff, and they put together different things to be shipped up, and then have robots loaded into the packages that we then ship out to hospitals and wherever. But they also have a saline plant right next to it, I guess, in the same town or something like that. It has the same zip code or whatever that they use. But
Yeah.
anyway, they had to ramp up production because of what happened in the Carolinas.
Right. Wow. That's, yeah. I mean, it's amazing on how it just, yeah, manifests that way. Interesting. So, do you see, I guess, in light of like current news and everything for 2025, 2026, do you see more businesses coming that way towards Pittsburgh? And then, so for medical devices or medical anything, I guess, for research specifically, um, would you say that people would make their way west that towards that way?
I think as far as research goes, it's not really going to change a whole lot. I think there's already a bunch of people that are doing the research and stuff. The only way to expand on the research is to get more people into the area, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm just saying I don't know if they're going to do that at this time,
Right.
type of thing, because they're already focused on their niches as it is already. So unless you have like another player come up, which is going to be really hard with, you know, the Titans that are already here. The only way it would happen is if Cleveland Clinic came to town. Like it has to be someone that already has a strong anchor in another market that would then have to come to town to start playing ball.
Okay.
But Cleveland Clinic and
So that's interesting.
but Cleveland Clinic already has their market, so like I don't know why they would want to come over here. Like they're not going to gain anything by coming
That's
here.
a good point. Right. Well, I guess for them is that they have had a huge problem gaining talent. And that's why they were thinking about leaving, going further south towards Tennessee.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, the hardest part is that it's like, it's great. It's Cleveland Clinic by the name, but getting talent in Cleveland and Ohio, that's always hard.
Yeah,
Because, so I don't know. Do you see that issue with Pittsburgh? I mean, that would be a way that I could see that Cleveland Clinic could make their way. It's like, oh yeah, we'll set up a campus over here because there's enough tech interest over here, and we could get funding that way.
I could see them maybe doing something like that, but I could see them sticking up more on the out skirts. I could see someone kind of more along the lines of doing like a Ruby Memorial where they're set up in West Virginia, but like just over the border. So they're only like an
Right.
on over just over an hour outside the city. So like by helicopter, what was it like 20 minutes? Which I know for things that are very severe, like that's like an eternity. But that's another option too.
Mm.
Or if someone had the money to buy up all the smaller ones that are not really making it and put them all under one network,
Mhm.
then you'd have something to actually compete with.
That's a great idea. That's yeah.
Because I can name probably three or four that are struggling that would probably flop otherwise. Because you have like places like Excella Health, Westmoreland Medical,
Right.
um, Hampshire, I think I just saw Mayo Clinic. Um,
Hmm.
what there's Butler Medical.
Hmm.
If someone came in and bought all those, now you'd have something to actually compete with.
Right. Ooh, that sounds tempting. Because I was wondering, because I don't know if you saw, but Johns Hopkins just sold one of their campuses in DC
Oh,
for
really?
20 million. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So it's funny because I think Super talked about it, but yeah, it was I heard about it too. It was valued at 40 million, sold for 20 million. And
Hmm.
I can imagine, yeah, they're I'm sure they're thinking their resources could be put other ways. So that
Yeah.
could be an interesting play. Okay, so we talked about that. There's another question that I wanted to talk about because so it's no longer a steel town. How is and because Pittsburgh is so well known for its steel and its bridges, with your logo having the rivers, how is the infrastructure there? Is it strong? I like it. It's a great one.
Um, no, it's probably one of the worst ones in the nation.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like I'm not even making that up. Like I'm not saying it's the worst, but it's always a joke that, don't look at the PA Department of Bridge Inspection like they went too long without doing the repairs and stuff that now they have a whole ton of bridges that are just all going bad at the same time.
Oh wow.
And not to change topics, but to share a funny story. So we have a bridge in the city. Imagine that. The city of Bridges has a bridge.
No way.
It's called the Liberty Bridge. I don't know why it's called. But anyway, this was one of the first ones in the bridge project that was supposed to get repaired. And anyway, I thought of another bridge story right after this one. So anyway,
Okay.
the bridge was having trouble with something, and they hired contractors and they start doing the work and all that stuff. And they're wrapping things up, and they caught the bridge on fire. And they cut through,
Wow.
and they greatly weakened one of the main supports to the bridge. And then they said, "Oh, well, no big trucks on, just car traffic." And then they said, "Well, we'll just permanently slow it down, and it'll be okay." And they slapped the whole thing together, and I'm just kind of like, I don't. I'm glad Cynthia moved because like that bridge was kind of convenient for me.
Yeah.
Now where she's at now, it's just not convenient for me to take it at all ever, unless I'm going to like a Penguins game.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I'm glad I don't have to be on that bridge as often. So second story about bridges and how Pittsburgh is great at their infrastructure. I think it's over towards Frick Park. Don't quote me on it. As soon as I tell a story, everyone from Pittsburgh will know what I'm talking about as soon as tell a story. There's a bus going across the bridge. I can't get the story out without laughing already. And for those that are watching this in Pittsburgh, probably already know where I'm going with this. The there's a bus going across the bridge, and it just happened to be, I forget, it was the day before Joe Biden was supposed to show up and talk about how Pittsburgh needs to work on the infrastructure. or the day after he gave a speech about talking about the infrastructure. And I think it's actually the day after the bus almost gets to the end, the bridge just collapses.
Oh,
No one was hurt,
that's
but
good.
yeah, no one was hurt. Everyone was saved. But like it, if anyone has a Christmas ornament collection, okay, I'm trying to collect the Pat bus collection. There's the bus and the bus in the sinkhole, the bus on the bridge, collapsed bridge, and I forget what the third one is. But there's three Christmas ornaments that involve horrible things like that. Luckily, no one was ever hurt in any of these accidents, but we still
Oh
laugh about it.
wow. Yeah. Jeez. Any sightings of the Mothman in these bridge collapses?
No, that's West Virginia somewhere. I always forget about Mothman.
Yeah.
I've been in the area a few times, and I keep saying it's like, oh, I want to see that museum. I just want to see it out of curiosity,
Oh yeah.
and I always forget.
Yeah. That's horrifyingly hilarious, but wow. So I mean, so with that news, do you think Pittsburgh is still, because of the collapse of the seal and the way that it is right now, you still think it's on the up and up and great for investing? Going back to real estate.
I do believe it's still good for investing. I mean, we still have a ton of blue collar jobs. There still is steel mills in production here. Or was it U.S. Steel is still their headquarters is still here in Pittsburgh for now. I mean, everything with them is up in the air because they're switching over to Japan. They're bought up by some Japan supplier, so everything's up in the air with
Right.
them. But there's still some steel mills. There's ton of blue collar work. There's a ton of Pittsburgh has kind of become more of an area for the service industry also. So you have a ton of that kind of stuff. Excuse me. And yeah, like I said, there's a ton of medical, ton of tech. There's a lot of other stuff going on in the surrounding areas.
Well, you had me sold. That sounds great.
You think about coming to Pittsburgh?
I am thinking about it actually, especially with what you've been talking about, like Northwest and Butler and all around the surrounding area. I was actually looking outside Squirrel Hill for a while and like the south side of the river,
Hmm.
but I don't know. Yeah, so I didn't have any connections back then, and so it's been tempting for me, and especially with Mikey Buzztune having such success with three properties already. I'm like, oh, and it's not too far from my original market of Akron, so which I like.
I've been also looking at different markets because I know at some point in the investment journey, there's, I want to switch gears and I want to get the second half of the portfolio going much faster than the first half.
Yeah,
So I'm thinking about doing a completely different strategy, but the strategy I'm kind of thinking about doing will not work in Pittsburgh. And in fact, I don't think it would work anywhere in this area, like within 100 miles.
okay,
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about maybe doing something more along the lines of Jared because it seems like Jared's absolutely crushing it.
right,
And that's not going to work in any city in Pennsylvania. I was going to say New York, but
interesting.
it would work in New York City, but I don't want to be in New York City. I don't think it
No,
would work in any
you couldn't
city
pay me
in
to be in New York City.
I don't think it would work in any city in Ohio, maybe Columbus.
Yeah, Columbus is an interesting one.
I would think about for Columbus, but I don't know anyone there. Yeah, I don't know what my move would be. And if I
Yeah,
couldn't figure it out, I probably would just stick with what I've been doing.
right. Maybe Chicago, but I don't know. I don't know if you want to be in the Illinois market. You would have contacts like MJ out there and Denzel.
Yeah.
So um I know that that's been something I've been thinking about too. That could actually it could work in Virginia as well. So
Yeah, I could see it working in Virginia. I could see it working in Maryland.
right. Interesting. Ooh, I feel like that's a new video idea.
I feel like we're going to need Jared for that one.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
The king of Rent by the Room.
Exactly. Yeah. So okay, cool. Hey, that's great. I feel like that's a great topic for you too. So um yeah, so okay, so back to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh collapsed the steel industry. Probably not coming back to the capacity that it was. And so they've pivoted well. I think that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh now. Sorry, there's a big fuzzy in the air. I don't want you to think I'm just losing my mind. Get out
No,
of
you're
here.
fine.
If I can't pick you up out of the air, I'm going to blow you away.
Exactly. Go.
No, I think Pittsburgh's probably doing better now than it was prior, just because they've done such a good job at switching over. And some of the buildings that have been the old steel mills and stuff have been switched over to medical supply companies. Like you have, for example, Bayer, you have Kisher, you have, was it Kis? I forget what they're called, begin with KIS or KIM, but they make a lot of the Band-Aid stuff. Um,
Oh, nice.
you have three different infusion pump centers here. You have other, you have Saint, or was it Phillips? You have Siemens. You have basically any radiology medical company. They're in the area.
Wow.
Um, what else do they have? I mean, they have pill manufacturers here. They have tons of plastic divisions. There's It's actually a lot of what is going on right now is a ton of plastics because they just
Oh,
because sometimes what they do is they pull out this old machinery from the steel mills if it like the small mills, okay? They
right.
pull out this old machinery from like that's all PLC and binary coding and stuff like the small ones. And like for example, like one of the machines I run is basically just a glorified tool and die machine that has robots feeding it. And that's what they do. Like they just revamp it for
Huh.
plastic instead of steel.
Wow. That's first. That's impressive.
They also a lot of blue collar works is it's still all steel related. So like they have tons of CNC machines, but like they probably have more CNC machines in this area than probably the rest of the country.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah, they have tons of machine shops. I could probably hit a golf ball from anywhere in this area and hit a machine shop.
Oh, wow.
So they have tons of that
You
stuff
make
going
Pittsburgh
on.
sound very interesting.
Um,
Yeah.
what else do we have? We have a ton of breweries. I forget who I was talking about that with recently, but we have a ton of breweries.
Nice. Hey, not gonna say no to that. That sounds great. Ooh.
Oh, I know who I was
Um.
talking about that with. I don't think they want to be in the video. Maybe I don't know.
Okay.
But
Well.
yeah, yeah. But he. I grew up in this area, so I'm kind of used to seeing it. But he was telling me he lived in Florida and he came up here. He's like, yeah, the area I grew up there's like maybe five breweries. He's like, my gosh. He's like, everywhere I go, there's a brewery. He's like, there's a brewery in someone's basement. And he's like, you go, and like he's not lying that there truly is. He's
Oh,
like,
wow.
he's like, I go over to pizza shop and they're like, would you like to try one of our homemade breweries? He's like, where? They're like, where's it at? And it's they're like, oh, well, it's coffee and beer.
Ooh. I like both. I'm a big beer person. I'm a big coffee person, and yeah, Virginia is a very well-known beer and whiskey state as well. So, with also a big push towards bourbon as well. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm probably more into
So,
coffee anymore.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I, I,
I'm a big coffee person, so I'll always find a local roastery. So yeah.
so when you come to Pittsburgh,
Ooh, it sounds could be in the next few months. I mean, I hey, that was the other thing that I was interested in talking about too, is that because Zuber's making the Vegas event a lot more intimate. I mean, because there's more investment in the Pittsburgh area,
hmm
maybe more affordable. And like you said, I mean, there's a lot of local restaurants. That is something I knew. I have family out there, so it would be a very interesting spot to hit up. I mean, be great for an East Coast event.
see, I said this before about Pittsburgh, and I said it jokingly in Jared's Sunday accountability meeting when I used to attend it more frequently.
Yeah, right.
And I bet I want to say like half the people said I would go to Pittsburgh, and
They would or
for
wouldn't.
what's that?
Oh, they would not or
Or
would.
that they would.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, because you figure there's a lot of people that are in Pennsylvania, but they're on the Philadelphia side, but that's only a 5 hour drive.
right.
And even Lumberjack landlord at one point said that he would drive down to Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
I mean, he drove to Buffalo, New York for something recently with his kid, didn't he?
right, right. Yeah. So
It's not that much further.
no,
And I forget who it is, but there's a couple people from the Floridas and that so that they would come up and stuff. I think Florida from here is like 15 hours.
sounds about right.
It's like right on the verge. We're just like, do I want to drive or do I want to fly?
Right, right. And you have an international airport right there as well. It's
Yeah,
only
we have an
six an hour,
international
half an hour
airport.
drive for me.
I was talking,
So
I was talking about this with BuzzTune, but I said if they were to do one, I would try to push to be like kind of like the guy that like I don't want to spend my money on it, but I'm not sure if Zuber would be looking
right,
for that. I don't think he would. But anyway, I
right.
would try to be like maybe try to help out with the planning and stuff because there's a hotel, for example, in Green Tree, and this is what I was
Mm,
telling the person I was just talking about that came from Florida.
right.
There was they used to have a thing called Acres of Pittsburgh, and I think they used to seat like they could seat more than what they had, and I think they had like 600 people. They would have a sliding door that
Oh, nice.
they would slide like a little bit more, probably like three quarters, two-thirds, something like that. The left side was just for networking, and the right side was for all the people that want to attend the meeting. So it's set up for like 300 on the right, and then like about 200 because like you have booths and just people walking around with snacks and coffee and beer or wine, whatever you wanted, that were would be networking on the left side.
Right,
That way, like if you didn't want to see someone talking on the right, you didn't have to go out of the room and into the hallway and all the way around. You just scoop right through.
right, right.
So that was nice. And they have more rooms than that. And the hotel's connected right there. There's a restaurant in there. You can easily get it catered. So like all that would be taken care of all in one place.
Yeah. I think we I think we're might be in the plans. I like this.
That's kind of it was a thought I had a long time ago, and
Mhm.
it's just kind of like a side thought, like
Yeah.
I kind of thought to myself as I was getting this channel going that it'd be like it would be so cool if the Jack's Business Talk could get big enough where we could do a meetup like that. But like I know my channel, and I even knew when I was thinking that type of stuff, I was like, my channel's never gonna get that big where I could be like, hey guys, let's have a big meetup. Like
Yeah.
I could see my channel more or less being the size of being like, okay, let's run a fire hall.
Right. But
I
I
cook
mean,
for all
it's
you.
there you go. Have a big barbecue. There you go.
I make pierogi for
Yeah.
all of you.
But I mean, ooh, I like that. I won't say no to a pierogi. Yeah, but I think yeah, that'd be a great plan. It's because I mean your channels, I mean, hey, you're short, just what, fifth no, less than 10 now
It's less than 10 now. Yeah.
for being able to stream. Yeah.
I'm
So
pretty
you're
excited about
growing.
that.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And then I mean, you have Mark, you have BuzzTune, who I know he doesn't want to make videos, but hey, he's always in the background helping out. And then it could be conglomeration of channels. So
I think it's funny, okay? BuzzTune, he doesn't want to make a video, is part of everyone's video.
right.
And and the funny thing was a lot of times, I want to say a good like third of the time with driving with Jack, I just know I have to cut a video to keep it going. So like there's
Right.
days like this one day like 2 weeks ago, I don't know what happened. I had a topic in mind. It went out the window. The whole episode ended up becoming a 8-minute talk about how great Mikey is.
Yeah.
That was like the whole episode.
I like it. Yeah. I remember that one. That was fun.
I like my response at the very end of it. I was like, Mikey, you barely have a comment on this one. I was like, you basically sold the whole show and you're not even in the video.
Yep. He's the silent co-host. Yes.
Yeah. He's also invisible
Yeah.
sometimes.
A little bit. Yeah.
So yeah, we could talk more about the area and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I think
I
we're
know
at a good place to
it's
end the video though.
sure. Let's send it here and then we can have more videos about this and investing in Pittsburgh. I like
Yeah.
this plan.
All right. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of Jack's Business Talk.